Having used Dehancer on Resolve for almost 2 years now, I have always wanted to try out their photo plugin because I have always been converting my raw images into DNGs and then importing them into Resolve for Dehancer film emulation. And the problem with that is the cropping is really annoying on Resolve, and the Sony RAW to DNG conversion just does not work that well. So when Dehancer reached out to me and offered me a chance to test out the photo plugin, I was very happy to do so. Here we have our Capture One workspace. By the way, all of the photos taken are from the Sony ZV-E10, so you don't really need a really expensive camera for this. Let's start editing with this photo of an 8.6. So I'm here in Capture One, and we're gonna do some basic adjustments before we go into Dehancer, because the photo plugin for Dehancer, while it works with Lightroom and Capture One and other editing softwares, it does not have RAW capabilities. So if you want to do RAW editing, you must do it within your photo editor instead of the Dehancer plugin. What I usually start with is to get the exposure to an acceptable level, because you can't really do that in Dehancer. So I'm just going to balance this out, make sure everything is properly exposed in the histogram. I'm not going to give it too much contrast because that would affect the dynamic range we can work with inside Dehancer. So I'm probably going to lower the highlights and the whites just because we don't want them to clip inside of Dehancer. And that's about it. I usually crush my blacks to maybe that level, but the problem with that is it will make the blacks really crushed in Dehancer, so let's not do that. So how we start editing in Dehancer is we just right click the image, we choose edit with, and then we can choose the Dehancer plugin, and then it will ask us to convert it into a TIFF image to edit in Dehancer. It only supports sRGB too, so we only can use sRGB. And let's edit it in Dehancer. So now that we're in Dehancer, you can see that it already has a look given to it. So you can see the before and the after. And you can already see the heavy lifting Dehancer is doing. So the reason that we already have an edit on here is because when you first load in, it will show you your last edit. I've already done a couple of edits, and so it's already given me what I've done before pasted onto this image. So there's profiles and presets on here, and presets are basically a whole edited preset that you can immediately put onto your image, and it's sort of like your Lightroom presets. So you can come into here, apply whichever one you like the look of, and it will give you an image that's ready to go. You can still edit it to your liking if there's something about the presets you want to change. Here you can see all the tools, your film grain, halation and bloom, as well as your print film emulation and color head adjustments. And this is basically what Dehancer is about. It's a way to get the film look onto your digital image without having to spend the extra time and money required to shoot and develop film stock. It definitely isn't a replacement for the physical experience of shooting film, but here's a before and after just for comparison. After you've got an image you like, you can just press OK, and it will be in your editor as a new image. So let's try this on another photo. I'll just crop out the sides I don't want. I think this crop works well for me. Let's see. I'm happy with this crop. So again, the same thing. We get exposure up to where we want it. We make sure the highlights and the whites don't really clip. I'll perhaps even lift the shadows up a bit just for that extra room to work with. And we'll open this in Dehancer. So we edit with Dehancer. Same thing. And there we go. As you see, the previous edit has been already pasted, but this time we'll do it without a preset. So what we do is we get the original photo, we come to profiles this time, we'll choose a film profile for it to emulate. I'll probably pick Cinestill 800T just because I like the look of it, and then we can do all our adjustments here. As you can see, there isn't a lot of room for exposure compensation within Dehancer, which is why we had to do all that beforehand. I'm just gonna go straight to print film because that's what I usually do. I would usually pick the Fuji print film, but for this image, I think the Kodak 2383 works better. Target white, I want it to look a bit more warm. I think the current exposure is fine. I'm gonna give it just a slight bit more contrast, a bit more color density. I might also have to brighten up the license plate later, but I'll just leave it for now. For color head, I'll just play with the sliders until I find something I like. It's not the most scientific method, but it works. And then we have film grain. So for film grain, halation, and bloom, in the newer versions, there's a drop-down box for you to select what kind of film you want to emulate, which is not here on the version I'm using right now. The reason for that is, in version 2.4 onwards, there's a bug making the preview image not show up for a small amount of users, and that's preventing me from using the newer versions of the plugin. The rest of the tools do work, but without a preview, I can't really see what I'm doing to the image. There is a temporary solution provided by the support team, but that solution didn't work for me. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about buying the Dehancer Photo Plugin for your workflow. Either way, let's continue with editing. I don't know if this is the grain I want. I want the grain to maybe be a bit larger, a bit more prominent. And that's about it. I can also add halation. I think the halation on the logo works pretty well. I'm just going to give it a bit more of a red tint instead of the yellow. And also I'm going to amplify it a slight bit, because I think it works really well with this photo. I'll boost up the local and global diffusion a bit too. Bloom, I'll just let it do its thing, it looks fine. And vignette, I'll do a slight vignette because it gives me a bit more contrast around the edges. But yeah, after you do that, you press OK, and the image will be saved there. So this is Dehancer Online. It's an online webpage where you can do the same things as the photo plugin. You can drag and drop photos into here, and I'll just drag in a DNG file for it to process. It does take a while since the DNG file is a raw image, but it should be faster with JPEGs or PNGs. But just like the photo plugin, you get a bunch of looks you can already choose from. So these are presets. I am liking the look of Fuji Color 100, so I'm gonna go for that. So that's your presets. Afterwards, you've got light, which is where you can adjust your brightness and contrast. I want a bit more contrast, especially for this image, because it's a lot about the light and the lines, and so that gives me a bit more contrast. There's also color, so you can choose the color temperature of this. I think I'm leaning a bit more towards the bottom right. Maybe somewhere there. That's probably where I want it to be. And effects, again, like before, you've got your grain, halation, and bloom. I'm gonna max all of them because I like the look of it. And so that's about what you can do. So it's really easy. It's just on a web page. You don't need a powerful computer to run it, unlike Resolve or Lightroom. And you've also got your crop. If you want to crop your image, which I don't, you can see your before and afters. And you've got also exposure adjustments, contrast, temperature, tint, and so on. The lights and color tabs before handle the same adjustments, but those are visualized for ease of use. So if you don't want to use the light tab or the color tab, you can just come into here and do your exposure, contrast, temperature, tint, and colors right on here. You can press export to export your images in a couple of different file formats. You can also download a preset which you can import into both the plugin and the iOS app, and you can use it like the presets we saw at the start. Alright, that's it. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Like the video if you like it. If you don't like it, don't like the video, I guess. If you want to see more of this, subscribe. Leave a comment about how the iPhone actually uses a Sony sensor for the camera. And if you want to purchase the Lightroom plugin or any other Dehancer products, use my code for 10% off. The code doesn't work on the iPhone app because Tim Cook doesn't like me. But hey, enjoy some more photos edited on Dehancer. Till next time, bye bye. Ciao. Bye, Joaquin. Bye.